And we're back live on Capitol Hill for the 8th annual Holding Their Feet to the Fire. And we are pleased to have with us next Executive Director of ProEnglish, Robert Vandervoort. Welcome to American Maverick Show, Robert.
Well, thanks, Flint. It's great to be here.
Good to talk to you. We spoke yesterday briefly. You dropped by on the table. And why don't I just give you a platform, just tell our listeners a little bit about ProEnglish and what you're working with.
Sure. Well, we're celebrating 20 years now for as an organization advocating English as the official language for the country, as well as at the state and local level. And we also get involved in defending people in court who have run afoul from the thought police because they want English in their classrooms or English in their workplace. And yes, we're just basically an organization that promotes English as the official language.
Fantastic. And how can folks find out more information about your group?
They can check out our website at proenglish.org, and if they sign up for our email alerts, we'll keep them informed on this issue.
Fantastic. Now let's talk through a couple of items you brought to me. There's one about the fire principal had a right to insist on speaking English. Tell us a little bit about that situation, I think in Texas.
Sure, yeah. In Texas, there was a middle school principal who went on the PA system and told the students you need to speak English in the classroom. It caused a huge furor and outrage. There were a lot of non-English speaking students at that school, and their parents got upset. And ultimately, this poor woman was fired for asking for people to speak English in an American school. And we actually reached out to her, we contacted her, asked if we could offer assistance. She said she actually has lawyers right now helping her. But,
how recent was this situation?
I think when she went on the PA system, I'll have to double check, but I think it was maybe about a year ago.
Okay.
And
December.
I think she was suspended.
December.
It was, I take that back, it was actually, it was in December.
Okay.
And she was suspended, but then just in March was when they didn't renew her contract and let her go.
Wow, fantastic. I'd say, was the pushback mainly from the parents of the Hispanic-speaking students?
It was primarily from the parents, and I think there were certain groups that got involved to try to agitate against her.
Where do you see this issue going with her?
I only spoke with her briefly because she does have a lawyer, and I didn't want to get involved in that. But she did say, keep us in mind as things play out. I think it's kind of hard to see where it goes. From looking at it on the outside, I think she has a very strong case, so I hope that she prevails.
And there's another article from Washington Times about the Arizona student fights for English only at college. Tell us a little bit about that situation.
Sure, yeah, that was actually an op-ed of ours, and your listeners can check it out on our website at proenglish.org and find out more about this case. We're representing a nursing student named Terry Bennett, and she came to us, actually. She was looking for a group that supports the English language. She was in class, and students were translating in the middle of class during lecture, which she found disruptive. And she found it hard to learn. She'd get to student group labs and projects, and she'd often be the only English-speaking student in her assigned group. And so she told the teacher, she told the nursing school director that, hey, this is a problem. People aren't speaking English in the classroom, and you need to do something about it, which, serious and commonsensical issues.
Sure, it's a teaching environment. Why wouldn't you want to make sure all your students could learn in the language they're American?
Absolutely, yeah. And what was the response? They called her a racist and a bigot and all kinds of horrible names. And ultimately, she got a 9-month suspension. She was told she was harassing Spanish-speaking students and bullying them and stalking them and all kinds of just nonsense. And she came to us seeking help because no one else would help her. All of the attorneys had conflicts of interest with the community college and couldn't take her case. We found a great law firm in Arizona that agreed to represent her and is helping her pay for this case.
What university was this?
This was at Pima Community College, which is in Tucson, Arizona. And luckily for Terry, in Arizona, they have an official English law as part of their constitutional amendment. And since Pima Community College is a public school, they have to follow the state constitution and conduct their business in English, and they weren't doing that.
So I don't understand the premise for how they could come against this girl if this was part of their constitution in Arizona.
You know, I think that some of these administrators and bureaucrats just didn't know that. Right now we're conducting depositions, and that's coming out that they didn't even know the Constitution requires them to run things in English. And I also think there was sort of a PC bullying on their part. I mean, these are kind of sanctimonious, multicultural people who think that she's the one who's wrong and a racist, and they're the good and virtuous.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about ProEnglish. Where do you see right now the having English as the primary language in America? Where do you see that going right now, legislatively or otherwise?
Sure, that's a good question. Congressman Steve King from Iowa, he is a great champion on this issue. He led the fight to make English the official language in Iowa, and now he's taken it to Congress. He is the lead sponsor of the bill H.R. 997. And your listeners should check out if their congressman is a supporter of that bill, and if not, they should ask that they become one, because that's a great bill that would make English the official language of the country, and we're hopeful that that'll come up for a vote soon.
What are some of the benefits to America by having English as a first language?
Well, there's a couple of benefits. For one thing, it would cut down on the waste of taxpayer dollars on all these unnecessary translation costs. Right now we're doing a FOIA request for Obamacare to find out how much we're spending on translators there. Kathleen Sebelius said she's going to offer it in up to 150 languages. So, you know, right off the bat, that's going to cost a lot of money. And number two, it promotes the idea that English is the language you need to know to succeed in this country, to interact with your government, and frankly, it would help promote assimilation. What
about those that are driving against it, saying there's a surge or a continued rise in Hispanic population and even Asian population in America, and that would go against the American immigrant culture of not having, being diverse or having an open door to all these different cultures or languages coming into our country?
Yeah, you definitely hear that argument from the other side, but quite honestly, it would actually help the immigrants the most if they were learning English. It doesn't help them, it doesn't do them any good for them to be linguistically isolated, whether it's Chinese or Spanish. It's really for their benefit. In fact, I have found that most immigrants actually support our position. They understand the importance of English, and some of our strongest backers are immigrants.
What does your group do with educational influence of trying to implement English out there? And do you do any work with colleges or community colleges to promote English, and especially in border states or anything like that? Or
well, when it comes to education and schools, the one thing that we do try to focus on to some degree is the issue of bilingual education. We have studies that show it doesn't work. It keeps kids stuck in their own language. They don't learn English. In fact, our chairman, Dr. Rosalie Porter, is one of the country's foremost experts on the harm that bilingual education causes, and she's a big proponent of English language immersion in the schools. And so that is definitely something that's the policy that we prefer and favor.
All right, folks, we have Executive Director of ProEnglish, Robert Vandervoort. Robert, tell our listeners again how they can get in touch with you, learn more about your organization.
Probably the best way is to check out our website, proenglish.org. We always keep it updated with stories on the language, and they can sign up for our email alerts.
Okay. Robert, thanks so much for coming on the show, and good to see you here on Capitol Hill.
Great. Thank you, Flint.